Hello and welcome back. My name is Dr. Sahil Momin. I am the head of strategy and projects at Startup Nation. Today's topic is somewhat of a favorite of all the startup founders. It's about investments, more particularly how to raise investments. Now, most of you are early stage startups or first time founders. And because of that, it is very important for you to understand the basics of investments or startup investments before you enter the ecosystem. Or if you're already part of the ecosystem, then how to navigate it better. Right. First, let's talk about the stage. Right. This is very important because depending on what your startup does and where it is at this moment will define at which VC or which type of investor that you need to target. Generally, startups comes in different stages. First is a pre-seed round. So the funding happens in multiple rounds, right? So first is a pre-seed round. This is at an ideation stage or when you've just developed a bit more on the idea validation part of things, right? So you have an idea, you validated it, you worked a little bit on, getting the basics around your product or the service that you want to develop, and you require money to build the product or build an MVP. During our conversations, during the Friday meetings, I've noticed some of you are in the field of robotics, some of you are in the field of hardware. Sometimes it's very difficult to create your first product or a first prototype without any money, right? With the little money that you have or the resources that you have, you're maybe able to, put together something that may or may not work, but there are always a few components that are missing. That is when you raise a pre-seed round. Now, pre-seed money is just for you to develop your MVP, right? A minimum viable product. Normally, I would recommend startups explore grants in that stage because there are a lot of government grants that allow you development or that is given to you for development of products and services. Right. After you've developed a product, after you've developed your service, the first version, not the final version, just the first version, the minimum viable product or the minimum viable service. Now you want to test it out in the market, right? You want to check whether people actually like it, whether there is customer demand for it, whether there are early acceptance, or which target market is giving you the best response. Right. In the previous exercises, you work on identifying your customer personas, identifying the target markets, understanding the culture, how you're going to market and sell. So this is where you raise seed round. Seed money is basically for you to take your MVP, go to the market and test it out, get a feedback, and then reiterate and keep doing that till you develop a good product or till you achieve something called a product market fit. Now, product market fit is basically the stage where where your product or a service is naturally being accepted within the target market segment. Best with examples, right? Let's take an example of, again, you know what? Let's take a different example today. Let's take an example of Hustle Hub, right? One of our team members is building this platform, a very good platform for allowing recruiters and HR services to manage pretty much all the recruitment in one place, for freelancers to get opportunities in one place, and for individuals of first-time careers, people who are just entering that early stage career, to refine and learn how to basically build their CVs, how to develop their profiles, and how to give an interview, different educational models and different. Now, obviously, his scope is quite vast. His USP is that he's bringing everything on one platform where an HR service individual or a person who's looking for a job or looking to transition into a new job or basically looking to upskill himself in the field of job hunting can come, learn, and then upskill and evaluate. Good service. He's developed his website. He's launched a few products, resume builders, XYZ, out of which he then realizes that one of his services is doing really well. He's launched maybe 5-6 services at this stage. One of them are doing well. One of them is doing really good. Now he can go to, let's say, an angel investor or anyone, an investor, ask money for a seed round that he can invest in only that one particular segment. Now, why is he investing in only that one particular segment first? Remember in our previous conversation, when you have early adopters in any of your target market segments, in a specific region for a specific type of product or a service, make sure you focus on that and capture a big chunk of that market first. That allows you two things. It allows you to get some stability in your own business model, allows proper reiteration because your customer segment is somewhat familiar and similar. And at the same time, it allows you to get a market size in that specific region. Once you have done that, so that is what's called product market fit. Now it is time to scale. Now it's time to explore new markets, different regions with similar taste, similar background, similar culture, right? That is when you raise a Series A round. Series A round is raised when you have tested the product in the market, you've got your product validated, you've got customer validation, and at the same time, product market fit from your customers. And now it is time to scale. And that's when you take your Series A. And then to scale at different points, you then raise your Series B, Series C, Series D, and so on and on. Now there's also types of investors. Not everyone is going to invest in you at all stages. Let me give you a breakdown. First, you have the angels, right? These can be individuals or a network of angels. Now they're called angels because they invest at ideas at very early stage, right? When it is either in a pre-seed round or in a seed round, where you just have an idea validated to a certain extent, or you've just developed your early MVPs. Different cultures have different backgrounds. Along with angels, you also have family offices. These are basically corporation of larger families or rich families for that matter, who want to invest in startups, in smaller startups at different level, different skills. Then comes your VCs. Right? So at your seed round, at your Series A round is when the VCs actually come in. So if you approach a VC at a pre-seed stage, the VC is not going to entertain you. VCs come with money for you to test the market and then scale it afterwards. And different VCs have different categories. There are VCs that specialize in seed rounds. There are VCs that specialize in Series A, Series B, Series C, and so on. So different VCs are going to invest in you at different stages, right? Series A, Series B, Series C, or some VCs are specializing in seed rounds. Some VCs specialize in large investments at maybe a much later series. That's the pretty much context. But for you guys who are very early to the market, who are either developing their product or just, promoting it in different markets or just testing it out right now, how do you identify the right investor? Now, investment in startups comes in 3 forms, right? First is equity, which is you sell a certain percentage of your company to an investor and they invest in exchange for that. Let's say I want to raise 20 lakh rupees or whatever, 1 crore rupees at a seed round. And I'm giving, let's say 15 or 20% of my company to the investor in exchange for that. That's equity round. Second, right, a loan, where very similar to the government or the banks, you have different schemes where startups can go, and most governments in the world have this. Startups or small businesses can go either to banks or these specialized organizations and ask them to give you a loan to build your product, to build and then launch your product. There are certain schemes in every government in the world that allows you to do that. But this comes with an attachment. Loans need to be paid back, right? Debt needs to be repaid. So whenever you take a loan, it is basically something that you take, you build your business, and then you have from that business, you're supposed to pay back that debt. Equity doesn't work in the same way. When you take money on equity, you can build the business as it is. You don't have to return the equity amount because that is a section of the business that the investor owns. But you do have to give the investor an exit. So the money you return back basically comes in a cost of valuation. So in debt or loans, you get interest rate. In equity, you get valuation. So you value your business at different stage, and whatever that percentage is worth at different valuation is what you pay that person back. Let's say today I am at an idea stage, or I'm at a pre-stage, I'm at a seed stage, and I raise about 20 lakh rupees at a valuation of 1 crore. Right? That's about 20% dilution. Right? Now, I take that money, I build the business, and now I have few customers, I get good revenue. Now my business is valued at 10 crore rupees. Will I give 20 lakh rupees back to the investor? No. I give 20% equivalent of the 10 crore back to the investor, which is 2 crore rupees. So the investor has made 10x return on his investment or her investment. At the same time, startup had an entire period, a duration, and a certain duration before they actually have to start returning the money or start thinking about giving an exit to the investor. Now, the third type of money or the fund that a startup can raise is grants. Now, grants also come in different forms. There are grants that you do not have to return. There are grants that you have to return, but they are basically interest-free loans. And there are grants which work as a very small interest. They work with very small interest, but they call it grant, although it's a loan. But compared to the market rate, it's very negligible. So let's say if a market rate is about 6-7% or 10%, you will get that loan at 1% or 2% interest rate. That's the difference between that. It's a subsidy. It's a subsidized loan. So those are the three factors. There are risks with each of these types of investments. I'll just walk you through them. With equity investment, when you sell your equity or when you give equity to an investor, your investor holds management rights in the company, right? Which basically means your investor will also influence the decision making in that company, which you currently hold 100%, or founders currently hold 100%. When you raise money through debt or loan, you don't give any management rights. So any decision-making rights of how your business will be developed or grown, or who should be a target customer, any business decision. You don't give rights of those decision-making to any other third party, any of your investors. So let's say a bank gives you a loan, that bank has no right to tell you how to run your own business. You decide how to run your own business. The bank is only worried, or they only care about you returning the money back. Now, there are also backsides. There are benefits and pros and cons, right? So in equity, the pro is you don't have to return the money immediately, or you get some time before you start thinking about giving an exit to the investor, and you can give exit to an investor by bringing in another investor. So if let's say I take an investment from individual A, I use the money for the next 2-3 years, I get a different valuation. Now, instead of taking the money out of the business and paying him and then buying his shares back, what I can do is I can also go and get another investor who is willing to put that money back in, and he pays and I take that money and give an exit to my first investor. So my investor B is going to give my exit to investor A, and I can at the same time raise additional funds that I need to grow my startup. Yeah. The third segment, grants, are the most tricky ones to navigate through. Now, the reason for this is very obvious. Many of them, so grants come in two forms as well. There are governmental grants and non-governmental grants. So grants from, let's say, CSR partners or organizations or anything. In both cases, you're working with a Goliath, right? So it's David and Goliath scene, where Goliath holds all the power. They are supposed to do all the paperwork and disburse that grant. They can make demands and they can work at their own pace. In many cases, what I have seen, based on my experience, is when you raise grants and grants are not disbursed on time, you're not able to build and deliver on time. So, in the first two cases, you were getting the money, but the cons were you were either losing control of the company or you had to pay that money back immediately or start paying at least interest on it. The interest was being calculated immediately. But in the third case, the money doesn't hit your account the day you get the grant. Let's say you apply to a grant, you do all the process, you do all the rounds, and you qualify for the grant, and they give you a contract that you will get the grant. That doesn't mean you will get the grant the next day. You will get the grant when the money gets transferred into your account. And when that will happen is completely up to the organizations. Unfortunately, the legal environment in certain countries, especially the Southeast Asian countries and a few African countries, is such that there are no legal repercussions on corporates or government bodies for delaying grants to startups. So a grant may be promised. There will be a lot of media attention around you. There will be a lot of show business around it that, hey, XNMI Foundation has given a very big grant, let's say 2 million grant to the startup to build this. But that money is not transferred. The money will be transferred when to be honest, no one knows when that money gets transferred. Right? So that causes a very big delay in your startups, and a lot of startup dies that way. There is a fragment of that which is called toxic grants. I give you my personal example in this one. My first startup, EMP Community Farms, was a tech-based business, a deep tech business. We developed technologies in agricultural field and waste management, and we would deploy them. And we were scaling, we were deploying, we were getting a few revenues. But before we could take or materialize or actually start the sale of our agricultural products, we had to raise funds in order to do the last stage of R&D. We approached multiple agencies. I mean, it was R&D fund. The company was based in India. So the best resource of raising that fund is through government grants, because VCs in India are risk averse a bit. They don't invest in R&D as much. So we approach grants. We got one. We got qualified for a grant. We got it sanctioned. It's the last stage of R&D. We have limited money left. We've used that money in the hopes that we'll get the grant. Now, I was a first-time founder at that stage. The grant never came through. Right? You make your business plans, your business models based on the resources you have. We did the same thing. We were told that you would get it on X and Y day. We did not get it. The grant has still not come. But all the media attention, all the promotion business about giving that grant was concluded. So what happened then? We had to shut the startup. The startup had to put on pause. The reason is because I got that grant sanctioned and I accepted that sanctioning. Right? So let's say someone invested $10,000 or $20,000 in me. I said, okay, thank you so much for giving me this grant. But that money never came through. The next time I approach, let's say another organization, another foundation, and I tell them, hey, I'm raising a grant of, let's say $10,000. I just needed to do the last stage of R&D, and after that I can launch, no problem. I've already tested. I have customers ready. I have even got initial sales there. But I need to get the licenses in order before I can scale. Otherwise, it's a very big legal risk. The problem is that every other organization that I approached told us that we cannot give you any grant or money or even investment at this stage because the money that you need is already being sanctioned. And because you will get that money maybe at some point in future. So the investment or the grant giving you at this stage does not make any sense. The defense of saying that the grant has not even been disbursed over, let's say, 2 years now, is not something that people are willing to listen. Right? People look at the facts. You have received a grant. You did not utilize that grant. Hence, you cannot get the grant for the same purpose again. Right? So these are called toxic grants, where you can get the grant, but that money will never come into your account, but you will not be able to also raise another grant because every other grant foundation will look at your reports and they say that you will get that money at some point. Why not just wait for it? Right? So just be wary. And whenever you apply for any grant program, make sure those grants have been disbursed in the past before you accept it. So apply to all the grants. Once you get accepted, it is up to you to sign the document. Right? So just do a verification that whether this organization has disbursed that grant in the past or not. Right? Good. Now, let's talk a bit more about the actual investments. Right? How do you start, or how do you start your approach about investments? A very quick and easy method is via incubation centers. Every country in the world has incubation centers that you can approach. You can tell them that, hey, I am building this product. It aligns with your vision and your mission of the kind of startups that you are looking to support. We would like to be part of your organization and we'd like you to incubate us. The incubation center will take you on board. They'll help you out with the basic education. If you're a first-time founder, it's really nice because they really handhold you and guide you through all the stages. Great. But they'll also help you develop your deck. They might even invest in you. Many incubation centers are investors as well, so they may also invest in you. Alternatively, they will provide you with all the educational tools. So for example, the very basic thing when you go about investment is a pitch deck, which is either a pitch video or a PowerPoint presentation, maybe a 10-slide deck that you have to create about your own business when you approach investors. Right? So incubation centers help you with that. If you don't want the incubation route, you just want to go directly the investor route, then how do you do that? Let's say you started with an idea stage. How much time did it take you to convert from an idea to an MVP? How much time do you take it from an MVP to, let's say, targeting first few customers? Are those customers giving you revenue? If yes, then what is your revenue per month or per quarter since till date, right? So the history slide, what is the work that has been done so far? After the history slide comes the next target, or where is the business potential? We have done XYZ so far. We've gotten till here. Now we are struggling to go to point A or point B because we need funds. But the road to point A and B is this, right? Let's say, let's work with an example, right? Let's go back to Moolsetu, with the app that we've spoken about multiple times, created by Ninetons. Now, Moolsetu has developed the app, they've developed their product, they're going to the market very soon. They will be testing it out. Once they have the history, once they have generated maybe early revenues, they would go to the investors. Let's say, this is just pure example. We provided feature A, B, and C. Let's say we provided a price check, we provided basic connects to the traders, we provided whatever. But during that phase, when we were providing these services, our customers told us that they would be more interested if you could also give us a feature X or feature Y. Let's say you're giving the price check, you're also giving the connects, but maybe can you give us more farmer connects, or can you give us more trader connects from international markets or national markets? Okay. So they had reached a certain stage. Based on those learnings, they have learned that their customers are looking for the next stage, which is connects in a specific domain. Now, in order to get those connects, in order to get those traders or farmer connects, they require some money to go and outreach. You need to hire a team to go outreach, target different markets and so on. That's why they need the money. So they have their history where they started with an idea, they showed how they validated the idea, they developed an MVP, they launched an MVP, and now based on the learnings of that MVP, they have come to an investor saying that, hey, we want to do the next stage and we want to target, let's say, customer or traders in 500 markets across India. But in order to do that, we require 10 crore rupees or 5 crore rupees. That's the basic stuff, right? But if we are able to get the 500 markets, or if we are able to get, let's say, 50,000 traders from these 500 markets, our revenue, which is currently of, let's say, whatever, 2 lakh, 5 lakh rupees, there's still pretty revenue. So 2 lakh, 5 lakh rupees will jump 10 folds or 20 folds to 1 crore rupee, 20 crore rupee, based on our previous history. Let me give you a proper breakdown. Let's say I have 1,000 customers right now. My 1,000 customers are not all paying customers. About 100 of them are paying. And my monthly recurring revenue from these 100 customers is about 2,000 rupees. Right? I can go into an investor and tell them that, hey, based on my learnings with these 1,000 customers, I've understood that only 10% of all my customers are paying me. And my average earnings from that is 2,000 rupees per customer. But if I scale, if I need money to scale, if I scale to 50,000 customers, I'm hoping that 10% value of paying customer will still stay valid. So when I scale to 50,000 customers, I have 5,000 customers who are willing to pay, and they will also roughly pay me around 2,000 rupees, which will give me X, Y, and Z amount. This is how investors look in the business. When I am putting money in you, when I am giving you the money, I expect the return on that money as well. Right? It's all about exit for me. I am in the business of making money. I am not in the business of, supporting your dreams. So I need to be thinking from an investor's lens when approaching. Understood? So I give my history side, I give my next target and business potential slide. The last few slides are very important for an early stage business. And this is the team slide. When you are in early stages, right? So let's say you're pre-revenue or you've got your first few customers, your seed round or pre-seed rounds. Money is not being bet on the business as much as it is bet on the team that is executing that business. Let me repeat that. Money is not being bet on the business. It is being bet on the team's potential of executing that business. Can this team, now business looks good, numbers look nice, but does this team have the potential to actually execute and achieve those targets? When I give them a resource, can they use that resource and optimize their entire systems to reach the next target within the time frame that they're telling me about? That's all investments about. That's all trust building in investments about. If you are able to do that, you have built the trust and you are worthy of future investments as well. But for first-time founders, it's very difficult because they have no experience where they have no past where they show that I have done X, Y, Z things. That's when betting on pedigree starts. Which university did you go to? What other internships or what life experiences that you have? Which other projects you work with? X, Y, Z stuff. And then based on those experiences, investors then calculate whether this person or the team as a whole has the capability of executing the entire business or not. Now, the last slide of your entire pitch deck is about ask. How much money do you need? You've told me that from point A to point B, you require X amount. Okay, so this is where you state that. But why do you need X amount? Why can't you do it? So let's work with an example. I am currently at 1,000 customers. I want to reach 50,000 customers in these potential markets. I require 10 crores of investments. The question is not that you require 10 crores of investments. The question is, how are you going to use that 10 crore of investment in order to get those 50,000 customers? What value is going to be created against the money that I put in? Right? That is the basic question that you ask. Any investor will ask that. So then I tell them exactly where that 10 crore rupees is going to be spent. Out of the 10 crore, I perhaps use 1 crore rupees on R&D or adding more, hiring a team that will put in more features in my app. And the team is going to cost me, I need to hire 3 people. They're going to be costing me this much. Each person will get this much salary. So 1 crore is done. Then I have remaining 9 crores. I'll spend about 2 to 3 crores in marketing. I am going to be marketing using, let's say, web-based services or Google ads, Facebook ads, Meta ads, or newspaper ads, TV advertisements. This is how much they cost. A complete detail of where that money is going to be used, how it's going to use, and how that's going to convert into actual value in future. Doesn't matter so it doesn't matter what your ask is. What matters is how you're going to use that money in order to achieve your goal. And how much value is that final goal creating? Right? Let's work with an example. 1,000 customers, each pay, out of which 10% are the paying customers, each paying 2,000 rupees, right? So what's my revenue right now? That's 100 times 2,000. That's 2 lakhs, right? So my current business is making 2 lakh rupees a month. Now, if I take your investment of, let's say, 10 crores, after 10 crore, I will get 50,000 customers who will again give 10% and again give me 2,000 revenue per customer, right? So how much is that? That's about 5,000 multiplied by 2,000. That's about 10 million. Or about, initially I had 1,000 customers, each paying 10%. Initially I had 1,000 customers, out of which 10% were the paying customers. And those 10% paying customers were paying me 2,000 rupees each, totaling up to 2 lakh rupees. Now, after putting in 10 crores worth of money or 10 crores of investment, I will achieve 50,000 new customers. I'm assuming still 10% of that, which is about 5,000 customers, will be paying customers. And each customer will continue to pay me 2,000 because this is my previous learning, right? So how much does that bring, or what does that bring me to? 10 million or 1 crore rupees, right? So after investing 10 crores, I am getting 1 crore of revenue from those potential new customers. And this is probably per month, per year, I don't know. Let's assume that's per month, right? So right now I'm getting 2,000 rupees per month. After my investment of 10 crore rupees, I'm getting 1 crore per month, which equals to about 12 crores per year. In an exchange for how much? An investment of 10 crores, right? So now let's say I've invested 10 crores at a valuation and I've taken 20% for that, right? 20% for that of the business. So the business was valued at 50 crores. Okay. Now the valuation of 50 crore probably came based on the IP that I had or XYZ reasons. There are many reasons why that can come from. But after getting that revenue of 12 crores, my business is now valued. Now, valuation principles are very different for different matrix and different VC firms and different investors. Let's say my valuation is about 500 crores, right? I took 20% initially when the business was valued at 5 crores. Now I hold 20% of a business that is valued at 500 crores. How much is that? That's equals to 100 crores. Meaning, my investment which I put in was 10 crores, is now valued at 100 crores. Means my valuation is now 10x. Right? This is the VC math, or this is the investor math that people normally like to look at. This is how it works. Right? A 10x multiple, and let's say this is over a 3-year period. Now, VC firms work in cycles, or most investors work in cycles. A cycle of 3-year, 5-year, 7-year, 10-year. Different domains have different types, different organizations and investors and companies work in differently. A business in, let's say, deep tech requires more time to reach maturity, right? So it requires 5-year, 7-year time frame. Similarly, a tech-based business, so let's say an app or a SaaS model, works rather quickly. That's already been developed. It's being deployed faster. It's scaling faster. So the SaaS investors are looking at anywhere between 3 years to 5 years for an exit. After 3 years, I'll take an exit with X returns, right? 10x returns. Now I've given you the basics. I've given you the stages. I've given you all the types, and I've given you what goes in your deck, how to create it, how to formulate it. Now let's talk a bit more about how to actually pitch. Pitching is as much as an art as it is a science, typical lines, right? What I mean by that is when you enter the room, the way you carry yourself, the way you talk, the confidence you talk with, and the business that you're projecting needs to be aligned. If I walk into a room very confident, I'm loud, I'm confident, my business doesn't make much sense, would the VC put money on me? No. People are used to that. Unnecessary salesmanship. But if I walk in with an honest heart, I calmly sit down across the table, I communicate with that person, I tell them, hey, this is what I am at, this is where I'm trying to reach, this is the money I need, this is my deck. Would that work? Perhaps, maybe, maybe not. What people don't normally realize is a lot of the investments are just about vibing right. Yes, it's true that your business needs to be right, it needs to sound right, the person needs to be right, the team needs to be right. But in the first 2 to 3 minutes or first 2 to 5 minutes is when that decision has been made, whether I want to invest in this person or not invest in this person. And that has simply come down to a very simple and very, very nature-based things called, a connection, a bond, a vibe, whatever you want to call it. The first time I meet a person, if I vibe right with that person, if I feel that person is worth investing in, the first thing itself, the first impression is good enough for me. They say all the right things, they do all the right things, that works. They are asking a logical amount for a logical expenditure to get to a logical point. They're not too optimistic or not too pessimistic. Why not? Why wouldn't I invest? Right? Alternatively, if I enter the room and my first impression is not that great, or I just don't connect with that person, I will not invest. Although the product may be amazing, although the pitch is perfect, they are doing everything right again, but I'm not able to connect with that vision. I'm not able to connect with an idea for me to put the money in. Right? That's what it often comes down to sometimes. So, when you speak to many founders, many seasoned founders, they'll tell you that they are used to pitching. Every pitch is different. You take the same pitch tag, but you basically tinker it slightly different for every investor that you present it to, or the grant or the organization you're presenting it to. And the reason for that is very simple. They all have different requirements, right? But one thing they'll all tell you is they have done so many of them. 10, 20 are the bare minimal I can think about in a year. 30, 50, it can go as high as you can think about. And out of that, they then get investments being converted. The ask may be 10 crore rupees, but a single investor doesn't want to put in that much money. So they basically want to invest, let's say, 20 lakh rupees. You're still left with the remaining 9 crores and 80 lakh rupees to be raised. Right? That's what's happening in investment. That's what investing is like. Even if you get the investment, you will not get the whole amount. You'll probably get a partial amount. That's how it works. And you have to keep practicing. The only way your pitch gets perfect is if you practice pitching as much as you can and learn how to deliver best that suits you best, right? Now, when I say that, pitching is all about passing on information, right? I can do it via a presentation or on a slide, or I can do it in a 2 to 3 minute or 5 minute video. The same thing, right? People don't judge you based on how you're presenting your idea. At least not many people do. So if you're not comfortable in standing in front of an audience, or you have stage fright, or you're not just public speaker, it's okay. Record your pitch decks. And always record it not as a voiceover, but with a person. This is where the next and the last segment of today's conversation comes to: culture. When you make your pitch, right, the culture or the investment culture in every region, every country is different. There are regions where the risk appetite is extremely low. People don't want to take risks. They are looking for safer bets. Southeast Asia, in specific, look for safer bets. Alternatively, the Western counterparts, where the number of startups are low but the quantum of capital available is high, they are looking for slightly more riskier bets. They are comfortable with that. Their risk appetite is quite high. Right? So, when you approach to, let's say, an investor in Southeast Asia and you go to them with a pre-seed idea, a pre-seed stage startup with just probably an idea being validated or no experience or something, it's very unlikely that you'll get any investments from them. Very unlikely. It's not that no one will get it. Some people might get it, but the probability is quite low. That's what I'm saying. Same way, if you just take a slightly bit more mature pitch and you go to a Western counterpart and you ask for money on smaller bits. Oh, I have a mature startup, but I only require a small quantum of money to the next stage. They will not invest because the quantum of money is too low for them. Right? They want to invest either in an early stage where they actually hold valuable equity, or they don't want to invest at all, or they invest in a mature startup but at a larger scale. So they'll give a lot of money to a mature startup. That's where it comes from. How much money you need, where are you going to use it, and how much value you're creating using that resource. Understand that culture, understand the culture of investments in your ecosystem. And when targeting your VCs or targeting your investors, filter them out based on that. And pitch in a style that is most comfortable and most aligning with your personality. As far as you get the information out there, and as far as you're able to communicate with the individual, you always have to stand on a stage and do that, or sit in a boardroom and have a conversation and do that. Everyone has their own ways. So it's okay. Take your time, build your pitch, and just give it a shot. Now, this is the last lecture that you're going to be having. After this, all the startups will have to submit a pitch video. The pitch video guidelines will be sent via email to you. You will have to submit the pitch video starting about 15th to 28th September, but the last date of submission is about 30th of September. When you submit your pitch videos, you will also have to promote those pitch videos yourself. The product, the service that you're building for a target market, you need to have the confidence to be able to sell it, be able to promote it, because that's what you're building your life around. And when doing that, just be sure about what your decisions are and promote it well. Because in the end, the greatest salesman for a startup is the founder. No one but the founder can sell the vision of their own startup. Right? So with this, I will conclude today's lecture. Best of luck for your pitch videos. If you have any questions, any doubts, you can ask me during the weekly live sessions. They will continue every Friday at 5 p.m. Meanwhile, thank you so much for listening. And I look forward to seeing your pitch videos. Thank you so much.